Athlete, school teacher, or maybe worked in a corporate world. Our careers, they tend to be the way that we identify ourselves. Now, what happens when that identity is taken from you? We found ours in real estate. Now, let us help you find yours on the Free Agent Real Estate Investing Podcast, starting now.
Welcome to the Free Agent Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Stratton Brown.
And I'm your other host, Michael Butler. Thank you guys for joining us, as always.
All right, why don't you start off with what's going on while I get this into some groups?
Yeah, share those things in some groups. Our views is going down. It's either we're not interesting like that, or we're not covering enough information for other people, or whatever that may be. We got to figure this shit out. But what's going on with me? So as you know, I just hired 2 cold callers. So we've been doing training, stuff like that, listening to phone calls, just coaching.
That's the hardest part,
up.
bro. I think that is 100% the hardest part of doing it.
Yeah, and I've never really truly had to do it in a sense, so it's new to me. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know how to cold call, so it's really just taking little nuances in the way that they're speaking to sellers, or the way that they're receiving certain messages, whether that be tonality, sarcasm. As you know, that's one of the hardest things for virtual assistants in the Philippines sometimes, to be able to distinguish is sarcasm, because we have a lot of sarcasm in our American language, I guess you should say. So just going through that stuff. We are in escrow for, I believe, 2 other flips.
Did you get that one in Kings?
Yeah, so we closed that one. We were actually trying to assign it, but the title company wouldn't allow us to assign it.
What title company was it?
It wasn't necessarily. It would have been a whole lot harder, just because, first and foremost, the way that it would have been assigned, it would have looked like it was a bigger assignment fee, because we already had private money already sitting in escrow. So
can't we just wire back the funds?
We could wire back the funds, but in a sense of, for just that transaction itself, the assignment fee looks a whole lot bigger than what it would be after we paid back the private money and our fees that's attached to it. So the assignment is actually smaller, but if you're just really going, apples to apples in a sense of purchase price to assignment price, it looks like we would have made a whole lot more than what we really would have after paying our interest and stuff like that.
Did you already put it on the market?
No. So I already had a buyer for it. And so what we did pretty much going to end up having to not double close it, but I guess essentially, because we closed on it and then we opened escrow the next day. What would have made it difficult is because it has rented solar on it from Tesla.
Leased?
No, rented. It's a subscription base. I never heard of it. So when we were told about it from the seller, we were kind of like, rented. Nah, it's either,
it's a lease.
It's either a lease, or, you're making payments on it to own it. And when we looked into it 100%, it was $200 a month. It was a subscription base, so they can cancel it at any time. But in essence, for us to close escrow, we had to get them to remove, to lift whatever they had against the property. It wasn't necessarily a lien, but
it is a lien. It's just like
they said it wasn't a lien, but it kind of was, because we weren't able to close unless we got it lifted. So we had to transfer basically the subscription, which would have taken more time, right? Because the seller had to transfer it to us, and then we would have had to transfer it to the home, to the new buyer, and it was a pre-foreclosure. Well, actually, it was a trustee sale, so it had an auction date for the 21st.
So it was like time.
So it was a time thing. So we could have paid money to have it removed, but who knows how long that would have taken, because solar companies are typically the worst.
I'm surprised you got it transferred in time.
What I mean?
We paid on our solar with Tesla 6 months after we closed, wrapped it, and sold it to someone else.
Yeah.
And they still hadn't transferred it over.
So what I did is I called them. And I pretty much explained the situation, because at the end of the day, like the deed of trust, I mean, that's first position, right? So any solar is going to have second position, third position, whatever it may be. So a trustee sale doesn't help them at all,
right? Like, you're fucked.
If it gets foreclosed on, I mean, the bank's getting their money before you even you get anything, you know what I mean? And so at that point, you kind of just got to paint that picture for them. Like, look, there's a trustee sale coming up. We got this amount of days for it to happen. We're not even trying to flirt with this day. We're trying to close it, a week before that. And what they did was they pretty much just put it as urgent, and they took care of it. We got it transferred after I called them. The seller initiated the transfer on a Friday. I called them on like Tuesday because they say give them like 3 days to get back to you. I called them on a Tuesday, and from that point we were taken care of by like Wednesday.
Bro,
it took them like a day.
Right, and if you've ever dealt with solar, bro, it's the worst. Not for the fact the solar is bad, but these solar companies are just the most inefficient. Come on, Elon.
Yeah,
come on. I'm a fanboy, bro, but you gotta fucking work on that customer support.
Well, you got to remember they get paid the longer it's on there. So why would they have no incentive to expedite anything? Yeah. You know what I mean? But when you paint that picture, like, hey, bro, this is a trustee sale, and if the bank forecloses on it, you're not getting shit anyway. They're like, oh, well, let's get this transferred if you're willing to, take over the subscription for it. So we did that. And now it's really just up to the new buyer if they want to continue to keep it on there or they want to have it removed. It was actually a small fee to have it removed.
Like how much?
It's like $1,500. So you can either continue to pay $200 a month to rent it, or you can pretty much cancel your subscription and pay $1,500 and they'll come remove the system off of it.
And the $200 never went up?
No. That was and they'd have to notify you if the payment does go up, because they never say, hey, it's locked for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. There's always a possibility that it could go up, but they'll notify you if it does. But
that's $72,000 over a 30-year period.
Yeah.
I feel like it makes sense to buy that at that point.
Yeah. I mean, then you take over maintenance and stuff like that, right?
I
thought it was a pretty sweet deal. It's just rented. So, but even at that point,
I'm interested to know, like, what is that? Because, like, even if you rent it, at what point does it not produce enough to where you have, like, then you still have to pay the PG&E? And
at what point is it, now that I think about it, I mean, what's the difference in just paying the PG&E bill every month if you're going to pay $200 to rent solar?
Well,
what's the difference in paying a $200 PG&E bill?
Expensive as fuck, bro, because our house is super inefficient.
Like, yeah, you get those high ceilings and shit.
We do have the high. I mean, but I bet you our utility bill is $500 a month.
Is it a 2-story?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
But like, it's old ass windows because like we rent, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, my primary residence had solar on it, lease solar that I had to pretty much assume the lease that they put on for my grandmother when she got to put it on there. And man, when I did the refi for that thing, and I was looking at the damn lease, because there's no way out of it,
bro.
There's no way out of it. And dude, we probably, when we refied, we had to pay like $12,000 just to pay off the PACE loan. Which, if you guys aren't familiar with, I believe PACE loan was pretty much a government program, and that's how they were able to tell you that it cost you nothing, pretty much free to put it on, because the government program pretty much paid the contractors to put it, pretty much the labor to install it. Yeah. And that was what the PACE loan was. But what a lot of people didn't know is that PACE loan was still going to have to be paid off at some point, because whenever you decided to sell it or refinance it, you had to pay off that PACE loan, which is essentially you were paying off the work, the labor of having it put on. So it might not have cost you no money at that point when you got it, but if you ever decide to sell or whatever it is, there's a mechanics lien, a PACE loan basically on there that needs to be paid. So we had to pay like $12,000 just to get the PACE, just to pretty much pay off the labor, but we still are in contract for the lease of the sailor. On the solar,
bro. One of my friends was in solar, and he just left. And I think solar door to door may be the shadiest industry I've ever heard of.
Oh, for sure, bro. And they got my grandmother. They get all these old folks.
They don't
give a shit about 30 years, bro. Bro. Oh, 30-year lease. I think like every year, I think it goes up.
Fucking 3% increase,
bro. Every year.
And
so when I was looking at it, man,
that bitch compounds.
I was looking at the payments, working all the way down, and I sat there with my damn calculator, bro. I'm sitting there, do times 12, do times 12. I'm like, these motherfuckers are gonna rip me for like 60, 70 grand in a term of a 30-year lease.
Oh, bro, what else?
And I can't get out of that. Like, that's what's wild.
No, like, because we bought one the other day to where we had to get rid of the lease, and then you can like pay to buy out the lease, but paying to buy out the lease is like the fucking life of the lease.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to get out of the lease, like no bitch, you're paying us $72,000.
That's what they said.
Yeah, like pretty much. Like some of these buyouts are wild.
And the wild part is the buyout doesn't mean you're gonna own it.
You don't own it, bro.
That's just
you're
to get them to come take the shit off.
Just getting them to come take the shit.
You're like, bro, if I'm gonna pay $70,000, like you're gonna have to bring me some more panels, and you're gonna have to, sign this shit over to me.
Yeah, it's
if that's not the biggest scam that I've ever fucking seen.
Is solar?
You're gonna make $70,000 off of somebody, and then you still own your product after 30 years, which they're not gonna be worth shit at that point because there's probably gonna be something out better, right? Because
exactly.
Elon Musk already has the roof panels that are solar panels. You know what I mean? So at that point, you're renting and repeating the process.
Dude, me, Chase, and Adam, all three of us decided to do marketing together like 3 or 4 years ago. Like dumbasses. And we were doing the marketing together, and we got this house, and it was like $1,000 a month utility bill from the solar company, like as a lease that the people agreed to. I was, bro, at that point, I'd been doing like solar door knocking to like pay my bills. And I was like, dude, this is probably the worst lease I have ever seen. Like they pulled one, and these guys I'd say this is a $700,000 house. Like they pulled one over on like decently sophisticated
$70,000 house?
$700,000 house.
Oh, you're saying they pulled
They pulled one over on some like decently.
Yeah, because they done did some shit right? Yeah, that was $700,000 house.
You're doing something. The guy was actually a fucking attorney who we bought the house from.
He didn't even read the papers.
I don't know if he did.
Unless he was older and didn't give a shit. I'm telling you, like
he wasn't older though.
Oh shit!
Like I, door-to-door salesman, and I was talking to my boy, and he was telling me all of these stories to where there was like consumer fraud. Bro, this is the craziest story ever. All right, so there's consumer fraud to where these solar dudes would go to a nice neighborhood, qualify one person, and then they would go to the hood and use that one person's credit to get all these other people solar because like it doesn't show up on your credit report until you default. And so they were running it up, making all these solar cells with a bunch of fucking bad credit people.
Knowing that they was going to default.
Knowing that they were going to default.
They ain't got no good
and the solar companies really don't care because like, bro, they're getting crazy numbers. And like, okay, what if
the government's paying it?
Yeah, what if one person defaults? It's fine.
Yeah.
But like, so, and like the whole group of people had to leave Vivint, like wild shit to where it was like active consumer fraud at a mass scale.
Wow.
Like we think wholesalers are shady,
And the cool part is that they're not, you know what I mean? Like that's some wild shit. And it's funny because like if I'm driving for dollars and you see like a distressed house, and then I see fucking solar panels on the roof. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Like it's going to be more complex.
Bro, it's going to be more. Bro, the roof is about to fall over. You know what I mean? And you got solar panels, some new ones on there too. Your shit's hella efficient.
Barely got cert.
You know what I mean? Hella trying to be efficient, but your windows ain't even updated. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't even got good insulation in the house, and you sitting there got solar panels on it. That just tells you what the kind of information's out there with solar panels.
Yeah, so I guess that's a gripe. Well, where'd you get that big house you locked up?
That was a referral.
Bro, that's a big one.
It was a referral. Seller, I guess, older lady. They were going to list the property, and but if she could get a good cash price for it and was able to just walk away, not having to, she didn't want to do showings and stuff like that. Didn't want to fix anything. Nice ass house, right? But it did need a lot of updating.
Is it like a 3,000 square foot house?
I don't know how big that motherfucker is.
It looked like I saw it. I was like, that's a big house.
It's pretty big, dude.
What's the ARV on?
ARV is between like 825 and like 850.
So what made you guys feel confident in buying a house at such a high price point? What's going on right now?
We did it. It was offered to us. It was offered to us at a certain price. And even at that price, it was decent. You know what I mean? But so, like, with it being the price point, it was like, I don't know.
Right?
It's still a good. It's a good. The asking price is good, but I don't know if this is price point that we trying to really dip into. And so we came in and we just lowball offered. We offered probably 50. We offered 75,000 under
Less.
asking. Yeah, they came up with another 20. So then we got it at 50,000 under asking, which was already a discount already. So then at that point, it was like, well, shit.
Like a lot of shit's gonna have to.
A lot of shit's gonna have to fuck up in order for us to really bomb this.
There you go. So look, the one on Palm, I feel confident that one because we bought that one deep as fuck.
It's crazy because it didn't like. I don't know why at the time it didn't feel as deep. And then like every time I review it, I go back and look at it and I'm like, damn, we bought this hella deep.
Bro, we bought that one deep.
I'll be able to just straight throw that bitch right back on the market, man.
When we get the goddamn.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, the good thing about it is
I got a lesson too.
Well, let me finish on Palm. The good thing about that whole tenant issue, to be honest with you, in that price point, even if we decided to just hotel it and clean it out and just throw it back on the market, right? That's an option. But we're going to pass the 90 days for our FHA buyers. So at that point, I mean, we really could just fix it and throw it on there and probably make a little bit more because now, I mean, we're going to be able to, people, FHA, conventional, all those people will be able to buy it.
I don't like flipping in shitty areas though. Because you gotta have a dude go live in that bitch or else you're just gonna have problems.
Yeah, you just gotta, you just gotta set that up right.
Like, remember last year?
Just don't leave stuff in there.
No, was it last year? It was 2 years ago when me and Kyle bought a house and the day of closing, homeless people fucking broke in that bitch and started doing meth. Before I'd even closed, I get a call.
Jason had that with Larry's house.
Bro.
That shit was ridiculous. Fucking redid the fence, turn around, freaking, they done drove a car through the damn fence, whatever the hell they done did, kicked it down. He probably did that fence like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, so this was my lesson. So I was on the phone with our attorney.
Yeah. And
he was like, bro, your leases aren't good enough. You got your notices aren't good enough. You have to repost the notices.
For Palm?
Yes. Okay. So we had to pay a dude to I'm $400 in posting notices so far.
Yeah.
Of like paying a dude to run over there and post a notice for me. Because like to me, it's not worth it to go over there and like put any energy into it and like encounter them. Like,
they're ignorant.
Bro,
by the way, we offered them $5,000 cash for keys. We actually offered them $2,500. They countered $5,000, and we were like, "Fuck that!" Like, right? It was like more of like an ego type thing. I ain't giving you $5,000.
This is too nice, bro.
Right? But then, but we talked about it. It was just like, bro, like we gonna let our ego get in the way of another $2,500. We know it's a good deal, and if they get out in 2 weeks, like, what are you really losing if you talk about that? Like, you know what I mean? And so it was like, fuck it, just give it to them. And then they're like, well, I still need 2 months. Like, get the fuck out of here.
So now what we have to do? So now we're posting we posted our 3-day. We have to post another 3-day on Friday. We start the eviction process on Tuesday. And then pretty much in order to cover our ass, what the attorney said is like, all right, you can do 2 things, bro. Like, we can start the eviction process, and if they aren't out on that date, they're signing a stipulation agreement to where the next day the cop just comes and locks them out.
Who's signing a stipulation agreement?
Tenants.
What makes us think that they're going to sign that?
Because they hired an attorney, and their attorney called me, and I was like, I'm not fucking talking to you.
Yeah.
I was like, you can talk to my attorney.
What did he want?
Huh?
What did he want?
It was a chick. She was like, called me. I was like, yeah, we can talk. I was like, no.
I'm done talking. I'm done talking. I want all this smoke.
But like, because like we worked out a cash for keys agreement, and then they told us no, and I was like, dude, like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And then they asked for the extension. I said, if you want, and then so the reason we didn't give them the exact extension that, oh my god, my popper's gone. Fuck. The reason we didn't give them the exact extension because I was on the phone with Brad, and Brad was like, bro, if they don't have a place to go now, they won't have a place to go then, and so you might as well just start the eviction now.
For sure.
He was like, because like they aren't going to be out, dude. Right? Just in all reality, and then you're just going to be sitting there, and you should have started it earlier,
and you would have been almost done with it.
And then if they do get out, cool, bro. Just fucking give them the money, be a nice guy, call it a day. Yeah. It's like you got to start it now, so that way, either way, your ass is covered.
Yeah, because if you don't have to go through with it, then cool.
Exactly.
But you don't want to be asked out 2 months from now. They're still not out of there, and now you're starting the process 2 months late.
So let me. How can I explain this in a way that's understandable? So we bought a house with tenants in place. They had a 2-year lease in place.
Yeah,
a 2-year lease. I didn't think it was a 2-year lease. I thought it was like a month to month.
And which even having a yearly lease at this point sometimes is, especially with the moratorium and
right, it's been a fucking disaster.
And rent increases and stuff like that. Like a lot of people aren't even doing year to year just because it doesn't allow you to be able to up the rent in a market that was appreciating so much.
Yeah, I would. No, Alan only does month to month. All of his leases are all month to month.
Oh, why not?
Right? Like, why not? Because you have no leverage at this point.
Yeah.
And so we bought it with a 2-year lease with some tenants. And the day we bought it, I was like, hey, like, we're going to give you a 60-day notice. I have no intentions of keeping you here. We will do
and then they act surprised. Like, look at this house. Like, look, like, I never understand how people get so upset about it. It's just like, look, like, we're not putting our name on this. We're not having you stay in this house that looks like this, and people look up this house and we own it.
Right? Be a hove.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. I ain't got hove money either, so I can't be sitting there trying to pay fines.
Right? Like I know I can't sit there and pay fines. And so that happens. We go and we talk to them. They freak out. They're completely just tripping. Mm-hmm. And I was like, think it over. Like, I mean, either way, like, I want to get the house.
Yeah.
I would much rather pay you than have to pay my attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we go from there, and then we go back to talk to them, and they call the cops on me and Mike. They're screaming. The dude says we're trying to intimidate him just because we happen to both be 6 foot and above.
Yeah, I can't do nothing about that.
Right? Like, I can't do anything about that. And then they dodge us for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Because we proposed $2,500 cash for keys, and then I know a guy who knows him because he did some tree work for him. Mm-hmm. He was like, yeah, he says he wants $5,000. I call Cletus up. I was like, bro, you care? He's like, no, let's just fucking get this over with.
Yep.
Call Cletus, call the guy. The guy still dodges us. And then I text the dude probably every 4 days, like, hey, man, like, we're running out of time. Like, one way or another, like, either you're going to be out of here with no money or you're going to be out of here with some money.
Those are the only options.
Those are the only options. And then he tells us no. He turned down they turned down $5,000 of cash for keys. And then my attorney was like, you're giving them $5,000?
Yeah.
He was like, that's a lot of money.
It is.
I was like, bro, it's a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money. Then they come back and like, okay, well, we'll take it. But then now we want to get an extension until like July 20th. And we're just like, bro, okay, that's fine. But we need to know where you're going.
Yeah. Because that's what it all comes down to.
That's what it all comes down to.
Don't just give me a date, but you don't know where the hell you're going.
Right? Because then
how you give me a date.
That's why we needed to have the stipulation agreement. So now we're covered both ways to where if they are not out by then they're just straight up like it's a lockout next day. Like,
did they sign it?
No, so we can enter the agreement with them on Tuesday.
Okay.
And so that's what we'll do. We'll enter the agreement with them to where.
So is the attorney is their attorney is the one that's handling that?
Our attorney.
With their attorney.
With their attorney, yeah.
So they're gonna make sure that gets signed.
Yeah.
Because that's my worry. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we can say we're gonna enter into an agreement with them, but like we haven't even had success with even trying to get them to cooperate.
Like get them on the phone.
Getting them on the phone or calling us back.
The guy's gotten easier to deal with. And like fuck I'm doing such a Mickey Mouse ass fucking problem.
Yeah.
Having to deal around with these fucking people. But like it'll make us money, right? Like this is pushing the ball forward.
It's pushing the ball forward. There's progress. And sometimes in this business, man, you just gotta have patience. Not everything is gonna happen overnight, even though you can close it in 5-7 days.
Right. Well, I tried to think. I was sitting there thinking, like, bro, how the fuck could I have automated this so I don't have to deal with these people?
Mm-hmm. Having an attorney on,
like, just have a fucking attorney on standby.
What they call it? Having them on retainer.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably we should have called him at the beginning instead of calling other people because he was like, bro, you have no detail on how they can fix the situation.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna go to court, and then I'm like, bro, you didn't tell them what they need to fix. You just told them their house looks like shit. And you're kicking them out, but then it's like, how do they make their house not look like shit?
Yeah. I mean, it's too far gone.
So we got that. What else we got? We got those flips. I'm on day 16, 75 hard.
Okay, you gonna finish it this time,
bro? I feel fucking amazing.
You look good.
Thank you. And I'm getting some titties, right? Like I want some titties.
I got some titties. My daughter, my 1-year-old, every time I take my shirt off to get in bed, she'd be like, oh, she goes, belly, right? And she'd be slapping my stomach and shit. And then my wife started laughing because when she starts hitting my chest, she like has like a little cuff to her hand. She was like, look how she be cuffing. I'm like, get up out of here. That
hurts.
Yo, bro. It hurts, bro. It hurts. She's just in there just cuffing it.
My goal, I'm trying to get jacked.
Yeah.
I was like, do I get on fucking testosterone? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm trying to be like jacked. I'm trying to look like fucking, who is it? Jason Momoa.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm trying to be big.
You gonna grow your hair out too?
No,
Have you ever had long hair?
Yeah. I had braids in college.
I was say you said braids. Yeah.
Yeah, you had braids in college. I just don't like taking care of it.
No, yeah.
They asked me yesterday, like, bro, why you always get your haircut so short? I told my barber yesterday, cut it at a 1 so I don't have to fucking brush my hair.
Yeah, nobody wants to brush their hair.
Nobody wants to brush. And like now it looks like I'm balding, but no, I just cut it. I kind of cut it too short.
Yeah.
But like I don't want anything to do with it. I want to wake up, I look good, and I don't have to think about it, and I can go.
It's one less worry, man. Throw some clothes on, brush your teeth, keep it pushing.
Because like I have to get a lineup. When I don't get a lineup, I look like a fucking schmuck.
You look like me?
No, but I mean, but then I have to wear a hat every day.
I wear a hat because my shit balding, and when my hair start growing,
when are you gonna commit?
Commit to what? Just going bald?
Yeah,
I can still go a 1, and it blends just fine.
Take it off.
No, nigga, I'm not at a 1.
Show the world.
No, I'm not doing that.
Show the world.
But anyways, I can still, when I get a haircut, I can still. I've gone bald before, and to be honest with you, it's low key one of the best things ever because. I mean, just when the wind hits it, bro, when you sweating and that airflow hit it, that shit feels good. And then you ain't got to worry about like brushing anything. Like it was actually pretty cool. But like I said, I can go a 1 without no problem.
You think if I shave the top of my head, my face will grow in? Like that seems to happen, you know?
Your facial hair?
Yeah. Like if I shave the top of my head, like I'll get the beard that I've always been desiring.
Bro, I didn't start growing a beard until I was probably like 22. It's weird as hell. Like I'm just saying I had like a baby face for a long time. And then like what happened is I probably started having kids, bro. When I started having kids, my shit started flourishing.
I'm almost connecting. If you guys can see this, bro, I'm probably
the connect is hard.
I'm a fingernail away. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. But I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna look like a real man. That's what I keep telling Kalani. I'm gonna look like a real man when I get this.
You know, I was driving the other day. And I pulled down the mirror or something. Maybe I looked at the rear view or what, I don't know what it was. And then I realized I had hella, like I was starting to get like more and more gray hair in my beard.
You a real salt and pepper?
Like, huh?
You a real salt and pepper ass nigga?
It's like, bro, it's getting there. Like it used to be like 1 or 2 in there, you know? And then now I feel like it's like 20 of them hoes in there.
I get them in my mustache and I freak out.
Well, fuck, because you think it's like, I'll be thinking I got like a lint or something in there because you can see it from like my peripheral. I'll be trying to going like this, wondering why ain't nothing coming off. And I look in the mirror, it's a gray one. And then for some reason, the gray hairs be hella long.
Like this.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if I'm going to grow some gray hair, like at least be 50-50.
Yeah.
I'm going to salt pepper the hell out of it.
Salt pepper. What is real estate we got going on? But so a dude who was going to raise the capital for that Nebraska deal, he can only raise so much. Now we got to go raise more.
Okay.
That one will be interesting.
How much you got to raise?
A lot.
Like what?
Millions.
Somebody could be on here that could help you.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have millions, if you guys have millions of dollars and you're looking to invest in real estate, I would love to hear from you.
And
well, not if you have at least, I don't even know if this is legal. You have to have at least $50,000 and be accredited.
Yeah. But then also, like, I think people, when they think private, let's talk a little bit about private money, because I mean, I'm not great at it either in the sense of information, but I feel like I know a little bit more than the average, right? And I think the misconception with private money, and well, first and foremost, what's private money, right? So you got hard money and you got private money. Essentially, hard money is coming more from like an institution, right? And then private money is pretty much like a private relationship. It's coming from someone that you probably personally know or have a relationship with. So whether it be your uncle who has a retirement account and, $250,000 in a retirement account, he's able to lend that money to you based off of just your relationship. And so with institutions, for hard money, they typically have like a straight up type fee, like, 1.10%, whatever it may be, right? And whereas with the private money, the terms are negotiable because it's based off your relationship, the time that you want to hold it, if you want it to be interest only, if you want interest in principal, like it really just depends. You want to hold it for 6 months, 2 years, and these are more of advanced strategies for more seasoned investors as they start to build portfolios. They're going to start looking for people who have private money who are willing to hold them, especially when you start moving into this market, right? Where we're talking about more creative terms. Michael Zuber talks about that whole that 50-40-10 loan. Right now, so now you're talking about your seller being able to hold 40%, and maybe you're able to get something from a private lender who's willing to hold it for 5 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's when you start getting creative. But I feel like the misconception with people when it comes to private money is that they feel like, yeah, I don't have $40,000-$50,000 to just lend to somebody, but just having a retirement account, and I don't know what type of retirement accounts allow you to be self-directed retirement accounts. You can lend from your self-directed retirement accounts, and the money just goes right back into it, basically. Because I believe in some accounts you can only put up to like $12,000 to $20,000 a year.
In my Roth, I can only put in 12.
So personally, you can only go and deposit $12,000 a year into that account. But what people don't know is if you have, say, $100,000 in this account and you go ahead and lend that $100,000 at a 10% interest rate, well, when that $110,000 come back, you just added essentially $10,000 without you personally having to do it. And you can do that multiple times. So if you're able to lend that money out in a sense, say 6 times in a year, and make 10% on that $100,000, well, you've been able to add $60,000 to your retirement account without actually having it come out of your pocket, in a sense. It's the same thing as having a house with equity. Essentially, your equity sits there and your bank does that shit with the equity from your home. You got a home that's worth $300,000 and it's paid off. Most people just sit there. But what do you think the bank's doing with that $300,000? They're lending it to other people, making money off of it. So essentially, you could do the same thing.
Exactly. So yeah, if you are interested, we have a decent amount raised, but that still is a hiccup. But that would be cool, bro. That one is a really good deal that I'm excited about. Mm-hmm. What other deals we got going? We got the Palm deal. We closed out a couple wholesales last week.
Okay.
I feel like that's all the real estate stuff we have going.
Well, let's kind of talk about what you're seeing in with marketing when we talk about direct to seller. So when we talk about kind of our direct mail, we could talk about the cold calling. We could talk about SMS, text messaging. Is people still RVM?
I haven't heard of people RVM.
I haven't heard of any RVMs. I haven't texted in a few months. I haven't really texted this year, to be honest with you. It was just too many stipulations coming on it. It was too many. The problem, not even the problem, but I was hearing a lot of people were still getting some pretty good deals this year with text messaging. It was just too many stipulations that was coming down on it, that it was too much to keep up with.
Exactly. It became too complex.
You log on to your platform and it's like, well, you need to submit this, fill out this, and pay $10 to do this. And it was just like, bro, like, this is just too much. I'm spending too much time trying to get up to date with SMS marketing, laws and shit like that. I'd rather just ask the whole thing. Cold calling. I know for a while we were tracking our numbers in a sense of 200 dials a day. Typically would generate 1 to 2 leads. We already knew, about 100 leads to get a deal. Right.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think those numbers have gone up because $200 sometimes isn't even bringing in a lead.
Well, you need to you should probably go buy more phone numbers. We just decided we're going to.
I did. I literally just bought 60 new numbers.
There you go. So
you know what I mean?
We had this conversation.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, because our connections were kind of getting a little bit lower, you could sit on the dialer for a while. And we'll go through a list of, say, 600 records and probably talk to like 3 people.
Yeah. So they're all spam. And so this is one thing that we'll be talking about at like the meetup, is that you now need to buy numbers, let them season, and then you should never release your numbers. And now this is the cost of cold calling. So like now now it's
going to be more expensive because now you're not able to delete these numbers now.
Because all you're doing is swapping out with people who will release their spam numbers, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. Because everybody's buying all their numbers from Twilio. And then when they buy all their numbers and then people will release their spam numbers and you go buy new numbers, that's just a bunch of fucking spammed out numbers that other people didn't want. And so now when you buy them, you let them sit, you let them cool down. Then you have the other numbers that have already cooled down in your system. Now you use those, and then so now you rotate, but you have 50 numbers per cold caller is what we're going to where that's like going to be needed. And now we're looking into
but not 50 active.
No, 50 active per cold caller.
So if you got 2 cold callers, well, let's just keep it simple. So so essentially you should have 100 numbers if you have 1 cold caller, because 50 should be seasoning, and then the other they would be calling with. And what is the timeline that you would say is needed when you talk about seasoning? Like,
we're playing with it. I would honestly like to be able to switch them out multiple times a week to where, so like now you're at like 400 phone numbers for like a person. And like, but if you're getting a true, like actual 50% connection rate, like that's wild. You know what I'm saying? So like now we have 50 phone numbers that we bought, 50 phone numbers that are active, 50 phone numbers that are sitting. And then we keep doing that. And then so now, okay, we're swapping them and we're moving them all around. And then we're good to go.
And see, and what makes this kind of big in a sense is because if you think about it, and we're talking about if you're using like a multi-line dialer, right? So if we're talking call tools, because we all use call tools for the most part, right?
But so one thing with Mojo, people just spam out their number because they don't know that like you need to have so many.
No, for sure. But let's just use call tools because I know that's pretty that's one that a lot of us use. And so if you don't know, like when people first get into wholesaling, their thing is the barrier to entry, right? Cold calling is the cheapest way to get going to start calling. And so when you talk about owning 50 numbers, you get, your subscription or whatever package you have, essentially you're allowed a certain amount of numbers and you're charged monthly for each number.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a huge thing. It's like
$1.
Yeah, so it's like a dollar. It adds up.
It adds up. I mean, that's a double because I think your call tools account should be like $100. But then in all reality, now you're at $250.
Yeah, I think the entry is like 97.
Yeah, it's like 97
for like one roll or for one line or something like that. Yeah. And so you're paying for say 50 numbers, but now what used to happen is so your 50 numbers, say they're $1 each, you're paying $50 additional to your $100 a month. So you're paying $150 a month for these 50 numbers. Now, what used to happen is when these numbers were getting marked spam, you were able to pretty much dispose those 50 numbers, purchase a new 50 numbers, and just keep it pushing. Your bill is still $150 a month. But now, since you got to start letting them season, you can't dispose of those 50 numbers.
The reason we don't think you should because you're just buying spam numbers.
Because you can like dispose of them, but you're not helping yourself out.
Yeah, you might as well just let them cool off for however long they need to cool off, and then let those season and then use the new set.
And so when you let them season, you're essentially deactivating those numbers from campaigns. They're not being utilized at the moment, but you're still being charged for them, even though you had to buy 50 new numbers to call with. So now instead of $150 a month, you're being charged $200 a month because you got 100 numbers, but you're only utilizing 50 of them. You get what I'm saying? And so that essentially is going to make cold calling a little bit more expensive than what it used to be. And that's kind of
right. And the reason I said you want to have multiple, because it will probably get to the point where you're going to have to swap out multiple a week. Right. So that's a lot of phone numbers, right? If we're swapping out 50 per caller 2 times a week, that's a lot of phone numbers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like multiply that over, because like I'd say it would be on like a monthly rotation of 2 every week. And then the ones that were used on the first week of the month, they do not get used till the next month.
Yeah.
And then like you play with that. And so like that's what we're playing with, like to get the best possible connection rates, because like that's the carriers are just cracking down essentially.
Well, that's the best for you. I mean, you cold call at the end of the day, you need to be making sure that you're talking to people at the end of the day. And only how you're talking to people is if you got a good connection rate. So you got to play that game. And so it used to be the cheapest way. Obviously, as you start to grow, that bill essentially gets a little bit more. Because I think my base price is essentially like $399 or something like that. Yeah. I probably pay like $500, $600 a month.
Yeah.
Right. Because I added more seats for more callers.
Exactly.
So those are things that people got to actually like think about when you get into cold calling. What's the long-term game, or how, when you think about bringing on another cold caller, like understand that you're bringing on another seat, you're bringing on another batch of 50 numbers,
and you're bringing on at least, $1,200 to $1,500 a month in skip tracing. That's one thing. Because like if you don't, then if you don't give them that amount of stuff, then you're just paying for labor that is worthless.
Because you're recycling the same campaigns over and over.
And the list is dead.
And that's something you get into when you first get started. A lot of people don't have a lot of records, right?
Pull everything out of that list.
Every drip out of it. And so I remember I used to get so frustrated with it because we'd have like 2 or 3 people calling, and I'd have like 20,000 records for like, say my absentee list. But then after 2 days, they're like, hey, like, ain't no more records on the campaign. So then you're just going through literally just refreshing the campaign or adding it as a new campaign onto the platform. And that's one way that you had to start to grow, is you had to understand not lead management. You had to start understanding data management.
Yeah.
Because if you have 20,000 records and then you turn around, you call all these records. Well, not all of those were good numbers. Not all of, you might have got a voicemail out of those 20,000 records. Maybe you weren't able to get a hold of nobody. And then you turn around and you just recycle the same 20,000 records and you got wrong numbers in there, not interested in there. All these things, and you're calling the same thing. You're not at no way filtering it as you continue to go. That list should continue to shrink as you call it.
Yeah, I mean it's gotten a little bit harder. Let's say, to get a hold of people, but now you know what you need to do and you can adapt. But that's kind of what needs to be done. I'm trying to think if there's any other things that are needed to be done to like get a better connection rate.
Oh,
what's the question?
The question says, when it comes to raising private money, how do you have the conversations? What are the different options you can give investors in return?
Who's this question from?
Kalani Young.
Oh.
Thanks, babe.
So private money is one of those things where I feel like and I'm at fault of that too. I feel like you focus on it more than what you really need to, in the sense of a lot of people try to go out and build those connections or have conversations of finding private money lenders and not going out and actually just doing the work and finding deals. And it's similar to what Henry Washington was saying with banks and stuff like that. Like, you can't just walk into a bank and be like, hey, what kind of rates can you guys give me? I'm looking to get into real estate, blah, blah, blah. He says, bring the deal to the bank and say, hey, what can you do for me? I got a deal to purchase. And it's the same thing with private money. Like, you just got to do the business and get deals and build a reputation of someone who can consistently do deals, someone who consistently finds good profits. For if you're a wholesaler and you're assigning them to flippers, you're able to show that, flippers that you've been able to assign these deals to, they've been able to make good money on them. Just build a track record of being able to source good deals. And to be honest with you, people who are looking for investments on their money, they're going to find you.
Yeah. Well, like if you go
with social media
and social media, everyone. If you go to like people in your network who are in the real estate space, like they already get it.
Yeah.
It's not a hard pitch. Like they're like, okay. And they can look at the deal like, yeah, it makes sense. I'm good. Like, here's the money, to where like, these are the terms I want. And it's very, very straightforward. With me, it's gotten a little bit harder to where a lot of people like say they want to get in, but in all reality, you should probably raise double the money and just tell some people they can't.
Yeah. So let's what I can use for an example. And when we talk about kind of pitching it and stuff like that. So we'll use when I do some of my Airbnb arbitrage deals, right? And so with the Airbnb arbitrage, at that point, I'm pretty much subleasing a property from a homeowner to rent out on Airbnb, right? So I essentially am the tenant, but we switched that role in a way. I'm kind of a property management company at this point, and I manage the listings for the homeowner. They get a set amount of rent each month. But when I need to furnish these, right, I can't just go get a loan from a bank and say, hey, I'm looking to pull out a loan on this house.
Well, unless you have a line of credit.
Unless you have a line of credit, right? But I don't own the asset, so I can't take out a loan on that asset.
Yeah.
Right. And same thing, even with private money, I can't secure a private money's investment in me or in this unit because I can't attach it to the home. So it's not a secured loan. And so obviously your reputation of just doing the business is ultimately what people are going to invest in. But then at the same time, because it is unsecured, I do have to offer, instead of maybe 8 to 10%, I'm going to offer between 15 to 20%.
I think you could offer less. And
I could. But the way that I see it is, if it costs me $20,000 to get a unit up and going, right? And I understand what it's going to be. And with the wholesale side of it, I know that I'll have no problem paying off the $20,000 with one of these assignment fees, right? Yeah. And so the thought behind it is, if I go ahead and borrow $20,000 from a private money investor and I give them 20%, what that looks like is I'm just I'm paying interest only payments for 6 months. So I'm paying them $500 a month, which ultimately isn't shit based off of the cash flow that I'm going to get from these things until I close another deal to pay them off. The home itself is going to make me more than $20,000 just in that first year. So I'll get that wholesale fee that I use to pay my private money lender back. I'll get that within the first 10 months, right? And so when you talk about pitching it, they're like, okay, well, you're loaning me $20,000 at 20%. I'm paying you $500 a month. You can't get that return from no rental that you purchase. You can't, at this moment, you can't go buy a house for $20,000 that's going to make you $500 a month. That's a fucking steal. And so when you're dealing with investors who do have rental properties who pay shit, you get a rental property for $200,000, you know,
300
and you make
$200,
$300 a month. Like that's a good return for you, right? Because it's a long-term play. But now if you're talking about loaning $20,000 in the span of 6 months, you make $500 a month. You're going to make $5,000 in the span of six months off of 20. Yeah. That's a hell of a return. And most seasoned investors, you know, they're not going to bat an eye at loaning that as long as you got a good track record.
So did Halame ever reach out to you?
Who?
He's one of my students. I'll have him reach out to you. So he has 33 contracts in the first 60 days of doing arbitrage.
Did Kyle just had him on this? Okay, yeah.
And he came to me for like deal structure and everything else. And so the one thing that I do like about him, where he overcomes that, and he's like, so you get an 8 to 10% return. Like here's your 10% return.
What kind of units is he doing? Is he doing homes or homes?
And so like
he got 33 contracts in how
long? 60 days.
60 days for single family residences or apartments?
Single family residence. Like he's the one who used to do like door to door, and he was a savage.
But still, that's fucking crazy. 30 single family homes. That's in arbitrage. Fuck, bro, you're looking at like 20 a door.
So what he does is he just gives them 8% return. And then if they're like, well, what happens like if we lose the house? He's like, I can acquire at such a good rate to where like you're fine. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? To where we can take all of that. It is secured by the furniture. And all that furniture is just going to move to the next. But like he's like, I can put it in the next house.
Yeah, that's true.
He's like, I can put it in the next
house. Because I don't have to pay for it again. I already have it.
Yeah, like we already have it. Like we are growing at bro's growing at an insane rate.
Bro, that's insane. I'm at 4. 3 of them are arbitrage, and that's in 2 years. Again, I'm not actively marketing for it, but shit.
Like I was like, bro, you may want to start a business of just selling these contracts.
For sure. Wholesaling arbitrage opportunities.
He could wholesale these arbitrage opportunities because he's at such a high clip of like,
and make good money doing it, to be honest with you. Because especially say if it's already, it don't even got to be furnished. Like I got this opportunity, bro. I'm charging $20,000 an opportunity. What investor isn't going to take a $20,000 opportunity, put another $20,000 into the house? Now you're all in, say maybe $40,000. Most houses you're going to make that return back, especially if the lease is, you know, a 3 to 5 year lease or something like that. You're going to make that money back in about a year and a half. And then from there, it's a straight cash flow. And it only costs you $40,000 to do it.
He's got to go. So that's the way because like we've sat there and talked about how should he structure raising the capital now. Because like now he has to like get attorneys involved and everything else because like he's raising so much. Yeah. And I think he may just like start a fund and like, hey bro, like here's your yield. Because and like this is where the money goes.
Thinking.
You know what I'm saying?
Sat in some good rooms with some people that helped him figure that type of stuff out.
But like that.
But he went out and found the opportunities though. You know what I mean? Yeah. And now his problem is like, okay, well, how do I find the money? Because it seems like the money's just coming to him. Now, how do I structure this the best so that it gives my investors a good return, but also it doesn't break me in the process? Because one thing that I will say with the arbitrage model is not raising the money, but the idea of how much it is very capital intensive initially getting into arbitrage. Even though it's not your own money, it's still you know, you're putting yourself in a pretty good debt doing it, even though, you know, you have an opportunity of getting out of it. And one thing that I will say is that I've noticed kind of a decline in some of my occupancy, but I've never lost money.
A lot of people have since May.
Yeah.
Because like we've been selling Airbnb stuff in Call Magicians.
Yeah.
And Airbnb made some switch in May that freaked everybody out, according to who we've been talking to.
It's just how pretty much how your property is found. It was and I'm not 100% sure, bro. I ain't looked deep into it like that. Kyle would know a whole lot more than I would. But a lot of it was just basically kind of like their SEO search and how what ranks you. For a while, it was a lot more. They were looking for more unique type properties. So like those cabins, things with mountain views, ocean views, like things like that. And so that hurt a lot of single family residences in just neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Because what are we really offering when you talk about a scenic view or things like that? So you had to find different ways as a host to really have your listing stand out to people.
Bro, when I get on Airbnb, I just pull it up and I look like, okay, what's a decent price and what looks dope?
Yeah. So the problem with that is that's how it kind of was before. You can go in, type in Fresno, and they'll give you your super host. They'll give you people with the nice pictures, and then you can just sort it based off of how many people you were looking to get into the house, and you'll probably be like within the first 2 pages.
Yeah,
right. Whereas now, even if you put in Fresno, you're looking for 10 guests. What it's going to do is it's going to pull up more unique properties first. So you may be on page like 6 or 7. You know what I mean? And if the more the unique properties, you guys are priced around a similar range, well, what are you going to find more appealing? Like if you can get something at $160 a night, and this one is, has whatever feature that may be to it, like they're going to get booked because how many people are really going through 6 pages to find you? So you had to find different ways of trying to be able to get yourself to the top, and that's where I'm struggling at as a host right now.
Well, now that's when that interior design really comes into play. Like
I wouldn't even say that. Like it's
theme it.
You gotta have some. Yes, you have to, and so that's where I think a lot of hosts are going to separate themselves. So people have been worried about like, okay, is the Airbnb too saturated? Which it is. It's a lot. We got a lot of Airbnb. There's a lot of saturation,
but there's a lot of hotels.
But exactly, and what I said is, if they're still building hotels, bro, like I'm gonna keep going because they spend a lot of money to research where they're gonna build these hotels.
Just follow Walmart.
You know what I'm saying? So if they're gonna continue to do construction here for hotels, like that tells me there's still a need here. You know what I mean? But I think you really just got to start honing in on what your avatar is and who you're targeting. So whether that be travel professionals, traveling families, people looking to go to Yosemite, Table Mountain, whatever it may be, and you really have to dive towards those people and just become, excellent or an expert in that niche.
Yeah.
And that's where I think you could say saturation is, but I think a lot of people are gonna almost weed themselves out.
Sorry, did I miss this call? No, I'm good.
Yeah.
So 1:30, we're good. I think that's going to be the biggest thing is just differentiating yourself as far as decoration and like real interior design and theming it. Beach theme, this theme, that theme. I mean,
you're gonna have to put time in actually being a host.
Yeah,
it's not gonna be.
You can't just put it up and like it.
Yeah.
Man, this bitch cash flows $6,000 a month.
And for a while it was like that. Like if you got professional pictures and the design was nice and you were priced good, bro, like you was winning. But with some of the changes, like you actually got to do something, do more work. And the problem is a lot of people either don't know how to do that work or they're not interested in doing that work, and it'll take care of the saturation problem in itself.
Right. I mean, people who do the work always win. Like people like so. Perfect example, the people who are still texting and put up with the bullshit. So many people quit texting that they probably still got some good deals because they dealt with it all.
And then they're not getting hit by 1,000 people who text messages.
Yeah, because no one's getting texted anymore because it's become such an absolute fucking pain.
Now it's everyone's calling, and freaking if you don't know how to handle freaking an aggressive seller or an aggressive person on the other line, like you're not gonna make it that way either.
Yeah,
I still cold call, and I cold called and freaking had the seller answer the phone, and he's just like, "Oh, it's one of you guys again. How many times are you guys gonna fucking call me?" And I'm like, "Hold up." I'm like, "This is actually the first time that I've called you." And he's like, "No, I've gotten a bunch of these phone calls." And sir, I understand what you're saying, but I personally call this list, and this is the first time that I've made contact with you. The reason why I'm making contact with you is because the list that you're on is a notice of trustee sale. And so I intentionally call this list because of the expertise that we have in this situation to be able to provide that value for sellers in that type of situation. So if you've been getting a lot of phone calls, this is probably the reason why.
What do you say?
Bro, he thanked me. He's like, you're probably the nicest person the most logical person that I spoke to.
I mean, is he going to sell the house? He's got 2 weeks.
It wasn't his.
Oh.
But you know what I mean? Like I figured that out after we were going, and I had to handle, you know, the attitude. He was just like, well, no, I keep telling them to put me on their do not call list. And, you know, I'm like, well, do you own the home on 123 Main Street? Because this is why you're getting the calls for it. If you don't, then we'll go ahead and scrub you off the list. And I can guarantee you that you won't get a call from my company. You know what I mean? But that's all it takes. It just, you know, but again, people are going to weed themselves out because a lot of people aren't going to be able to handle that. And they're not going to be able to do it consistently.
Bro, I was listening to a fire Andy Frisella. Bro, MSCO project Andy Frisella, that shit is fucking fire. Like, it's powerful.
It's always powerful.
Like his old school, because now his stuff is more of like fixing America culture. His old like entrepreneurship stuff and like self-development stuff. Fire. I gotta send you a podcast.
All that old stuff, like, and this is no shade at all. Like, that's just not something that I like to consume when it comes to a lot of politics and stuff like that. And a lot of things I think he's right about. I just don't want to concern myself of those things. I quit
doing it because like it was taking up too much mind space, and thinking about those problems doesn't make me any money.
It doesn't make you any money, and you're like, fuck, he's right. Like, damn. Oh shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Like, then you're just mad. Like, I don't like the vibration it puts me in.
Yeah. So that's why I don't listen to it. It's good content.
Yeah.
If you got the time and you like being in that space.
He's right.
The entrepreneurial side of it, of his podcast, I love, because it's, I mean, bro got hella experience, and the shit that he says, I mean, it obviously makes sense.
I sent it to my fucking coaching students today. I was like, yo, you need to listen to this one today.
Yeah.
Where we at?
Let's see where we at time wise. We're at 56 minutes. Let's go ahead and start wrapping this up.
MFCEO episode 232, Play for Blood.
Okay.
Bro, fire. Like, just about playing to win, playing to dominate, and then people are going to drop off. Like, so he's like, business gets so much easier after 5 years.
I can imagine that.
He's like,
your filters, bro. Your filters are just so goddamn good throughout those 5 years. You know what I mean? It's
you
like
develop the skills, and then everyone else falls off.
Yep.
He was like, so at that point, bro, like it gets easier and easier and easier. And like, as far as that context, like you're developing, you get it now, and then playing the dominant. But like, his old shit is fucking powerful.
Well, it's like a search filter, dude. Like, if you're looking for something specific, like the more filters you add to it, the more focus you get, or you get to what you're looking for or where you're trying to go. Same thing in entrepreneurship, dude. Like, when you first get into it, mentally, you're probably not, that great. The people you got around you aren't that great. But as you start applying filters and starting deleting people, right, your focus gets a whole lot more narrower, and you become more successful because you're less distractions.
Exactly. All right. Let's wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Follow me on Instagram, @StratDaddy.
And I believe mine is @Michael Butler _Jr.
And if this brought you any value, please share it on your social media, show it to your mom, tell your mom to invest in real estate passively with Stratton Brown.
And we're back on Apple Podcasts, right? Because we had a lot of episodes that wasn't getting uploaded, and we took care of that. And so now, if you guys missed the live stream, you don't catch it on YouTube, you don't catch it on Facebook, or you're in the car and you rather listen to it, go to Apple Podcasts and search Free Agent Real Estate Investment or Free Agent REI, and you guys will see us on there. So like it, share it with some friends, and interact with us on social media, man.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
See you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Free Agent Real Estate Investing Podcast. Don't forget to give us a 5-star review. If you would like to stay in touch with Stratton and myself, follow us on Instagram. And please be sure to subscribe to our Free Agent REI Podcast YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up.